Third down and 20.
Yeah, so news just dropped before we started recording. Carson Wentz has been traded from the Eagles to the Colts for a third-round pick this year and a second-round pick next year that could turn into a first-round pick if he starts 75% of the snaps or 70% of the snaps and they make the playoff. Steed, I'm going to toss this one to you first. Initial winner and loser from this trade.
Well, I think the initial winner is Carson Wentz, because he gets out of Philadelphia and that whole mess up there. And I really like this deal for the Colts because when we were talking about it and we were making up our little mock draft because we knew Carson Wentz would be traded, I feel like the Colts were just like the best fit for him. And where you get a Carson Wentz who struggled last year, but, he didn't have like this great offense, and this terrible offensive line. Now you go to one of the teams with one of the better offensive lines in the league and a lot of good weapons around. They're going to have to draft a receiver around them, but, they keep their first-round pick, and, he just gets more of a full team around him, and I think he's able to really get back to where he was 2 years ago. At the end of the day, people are going to crap on Carson Wentz and say how bad his mechanics were last year, and they weren't great. But Carson Wentz, you saw him earlier when he was playing with the Eagles last year, he still was able to make some big-time throws and keep them in ball games. One play that really stuck out to me was the game they were playing the Bengals. It was the Bengals and they were struggling, but he made a couple throws to really push that and tie that game to OT, and honestly should have won that game. So I think the Colts got themselves a gamer and a guy that with the right coaching, and I like their coaching staff, could really turn him around, and just for a third-round pick and possibly a first-round pick, but a conditional second next year. You just saw what Jared Goff went for 2 first-round picks. I think this is just great value for the Colts, and not a bad deal for the Eagles because, it looks like deadlock. They're set on Jalen Hurts, and they pick up an extra pick and a team that's rebuilding, just trying to get talent. So, but I really like this move for the Colts.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the Colts are the early winner from this trade. It is a little risky because of what happened with Carson Wentz, but you get him reunited with Frank Reich, like you said, a much better offensive line group. They do need a tackle, but they keep their first-round pick, and that first round, if they want to tackle, there's going to be a damn good tackle prospect on the board there at 21. Like you said, in our mock, we had reversed it. We had the Colts giving up a first this year and a third next year. It turned out to be a third this year and most likely a first next year. So I really like this deal a lot more for the Colts than we had drawn up. I'm a little surprised that the Bears didn't try to get in on the market as much for Carson Wentz. Maybe they did and they just didn't like the price tag. They didn't want to give up any first. It just seemed like for me, Ryan Pace and Nagy, while we had Carson Wentz getting traded to the Colts, I felt like they would have made a little bit more of a push to get a quarterback, because if Carson Wentz is able to turn it around, you're never going to get a quarterback with that kind of arm talent and what he's shown before for that price. You're really just you don't see that. So if Carson Wentz and Frank Reich are able to turn it around, they're able to get Wentz back to what he was, get his confidence back, put him in a scheme that is more power run, play action, like we had seen in 2017 with the Eagles, and you get a quarterback that is going back into top 10 in the league contention. Eagles just got fleeced, and they're eating $33 million in dead cap, the record for the most amount of dead cap a team has ever eaten before. It is risky that Carson Wentz can bust out. Generally speaking, when you trade for a former first round, especially high first round pick quarterback, just the track record isn't there. But every player's different, and man, just being able to keep those first 2 picks, you can pick a tackle, you can pick up a corner or an edge rusher, which you need to replace. You still have a ton of money to sign free agents. Man, the Colts are looking great right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're looking scary. A good bet would be a Super Bowl prop on them. I think they were like plus 2,500 favorites to win the Super Bowl. But yeah, I like what you said about the Bears because like I've been hearing like the Bears were being aggressive in the Carson Wentz stakes, but like for that asking price, quote unquote them being aggressive, like I thought he would go for a lot more honestly, and I don't understand why the Bears didn't really pull more of a trigger, especially a team that's been known to give up first round picks and things like this. But maybe they just didn't think that they didn't want to give up that much for Carson Wentz. But Nagy and them, they're going to have to find a quarterback, and the quarterback market is slimming. Maybe they think they're in with Deshaun somehow. I don't know. But with the quarterback slimming, I think this was probably honestly the best price with the highest ceiling. You get a guy like Carson Wentz on for only a third round pick and next year's first, more than likely, for what he's capable of doing, what we've seen him being able to do, MVP contender, MVP caliber player, a top 10 quarterback, like you said. That is just a great price for the Colts. And it seems like the Colts usually do not miss on stuff like this. So, like, that's why I'm very confident Carson Wentz will just go back to his norm and, we'll see a very competitive Colts team like we did last year and probably more than that.
Yeah, it's funny. This is a Colts team now that is almost acting like the Rams. Maybe they're getting on that train where they say, "Hey, a lot of these late first round, mid first round picks are a little bit overvalued." This is a second time that we've seen them trade their first round selection for proven talent, or in their opinion, at least proven talent. And it worked out last year in their trade with the 49ers for Armstead, it was, right?
I thought it was Buckner.
Yeah, Buckner. Yeah, my bad. Not Armstead. It was DeForest Buckner. And Buckner was great for them. So now they keep the one this year in a loaded tackle class. They need a tackle. They were thinking about putting Quentin Nelson at left tackle. Now they keep their first round selection and their second round selection. I'm liking this a lot for the Colts. For the Bears, maybe they're trying to move up in the draft again for a quarterback. I wouldn't be terribly shocked to see them move up. It feels like they have a little bit too many holes though. It just, for me with the Bears, I would have loved for them to take a little bit of a risk to get a quarterback at a cheaper price, because if you want to trade up in this draft for a quarterback, unless you're thinking maybe you land someone like Mac Jones all the way at 20, or maybe you can only trade up a handful of spots and land one of these guys that falls, maybe they're trying to do that, but it really feels like they're a little bit late to the party here trying to get a quarterback, with a lot of these quarterback needy teams already moving to get their guy. Maybe they want to rely on Sam Darnold. I don't really know. If I'm a Bears fan, I was already skeptical. It's just I'm feeling very uneasy right now of what's going on in this market, and who the hell is going to be our guy taking snaps next year? Is it going to be Nick Foles? Like, it's getting real right dicey. Now,
if the season started up today, it would be Nick Foles. Like if I was a fan of the Bears, I'd be asking like, what are we doing? We've missed out on already a couple quarterbacks. I mean Stafford's not going in division, but to be one of the favorites to land Wentz and just seeing what Wentz went for, it's like if I'm a fan, I'm thinking, well, how did we miss out on this? Like come on, screw the picks, just go ahead and get Wentz. Like just counter offer that with a little more. But maybe they are putting all their eggs in their basket, hoping Mac Jones will fall back to 20 or trade up maybe in the teens to get someone like a Mac Jones. I just, that's risky because, like, in our mock, we got all the quarterbacks pretty much going by pick 8. And I just had that feeling this draft, and these quarterbacks are very talented. I don't see one falling all the way back to 20 for them, and maybe they are hoping to get a guy like Sam Darnold. That'd be good, but like let's say those two plans don't work out, they're going to be coming back to this Carson Wentz and really thinking about why didn't we pull the trigger.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on the Bears. contrary to popular belief, I actually do kind of like their GM Ryan Pace. He screwed up Trubisky, which has been kind of just the big red flag on him. And if he screws up quarterback again this year,